let's get to our cherry picking segment. So we haven't done this segment in a while, right? We used to pick an interesting stat or chart that we saw and kind of talk about what it means for the game overall or a particular player, whatever it is that stood out as interesting. And we like it because we like cherry picking stats for our agendas. And this one was a great one. Will, if you could bring up the Jonas floater image. It's funny because I named this the Jonas floater, but the first thing that your eye will be drawn to on this image is probably Nikola Jokic at the very top of this graph. It seems like he's trying to escape the mob here. This is a chart of leaders in career paint non-restricted area field goal attempts and their efficiency on those shots. That's basically floater range. And Jokic is way up at the top as the y-axis is efficiency. X-axis is field goal attempts. We've got Tim Duncan, Shaq, and is that Pau Gasol here leading the pack in field goal attempts. Jokic not that far behind, but obviously much earlier in his career than the total length of the careers of those other guys. So he hasn't taken as many, but he is super duper efficient on these shots. My eye was secondarily drawn to one Jonas Valančiūnas, who is the second most efficient player on this chart. If you just trace down the y-axis of all of the guys here, you zoom in, he's right next to Kawhi Leonard, more efficient than Kawhi Leonard from that floater hook shot range. And I thought to myself, is this why the Denver Nuggets have apparently been chasing after, or what was the word that Ben Tenzer used? Coveting Jonas Valančiūnas for a while now, is because he could, if he can't replicate any other aspect of Nikola Jokic's game, he could replicate his floater touch, which is very impressive. Well, how do you feel about Jonas Valančiūnas' floater?
I didn't necessarily have some awareness of his fantastic floater and how it would rank in history with these legends, but I had said, like, Jokic, I knew. Jonas.
Yeah. Okay.
I've said before, we're not getting him for defense. We're getting him for offense.
He's definitely not getting him for defense.
Yeah. Does not surprise me that he has aspects to his game that can be measured out highly like this. And he has great putback rates. I did not see stats on his floaters, though, and I like to see it. I do remember a couple times where he hit some, it was almost like the little turnaround hook shot floaters over Jokic himself.
Oh, so, yeah. He cooks Jokic. We always talk about how Jokic has his biggest games against Jonas, and in particular, when Jonas was a Pelican, we know that those were Jokic's highest game scores and some of the highest game scores in NBA history. But also, when Jonas was a Wizard, he had pretty big games against him when Jonas was a Wizard, including this last season when he had 56 points against the Wizards in that first matchup this season.
Yes,
in one of those
crazy,
losses.
Yeah.
Not great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Jonas has huge games against Jokic too. They're just not as big. They would be huge games, monster games for any other center in the NBA. But because Jokic cooked him even harder and is the center of the offense and probably gets more touches and all that stuff. Jonas isn't dropping 40 on him, but if he got Jokic's touches, he might be able to. Mostly because Jokic is oh yeah, sure, dude, you can shoot. I don't care.
Definitely, yeah. He would love for someone to get him some more assists. But yeah, no, I'm very excited to see how Val works. And that's what's sometimes frustrating about the identity of the bench, is that we've always tried to go for a defensive identity, and then they just don't end up scoring. And that can largely contribute to why those minutes are so disastrous and in the negatives. And scoring will help your defense get better. And so if sometimes you just have a big guy, you can cook maybe backup center on the opposing team, get you some points. He might get cooked on the other end, and he will get cooked on the other end by someone inevitably. but he has a lot to offer in some offensive areas. It's not like he's amazing stretch big or anything. He's like a very prototypical center who screens and rebounds and has little pushing floaters and hook shots.
You mentioned we didn't get Val for defense, and I agree. We obviously did not get Val for defense at all. I actually think we're probably going to have to cover for him more defensively in these bench lineups. So I wanted you to kind of throw out your ideal non-Jokic bench that balances offense and defense with Valančiūnas on the floor.
It's
and
funny.
It can include starters. It's just like no Jokic.
Oh, I love the idea of Jamal and or Cam. Like, I don't think we're in the regular season. You're not staggering them both, but I like either of them.
Why not?
I mean, if DA wants to go for it, go for it. It's just historically not what we see a lot with the Nuggets, but I would love to see
we saw a lot of Jamal Mike staggers last year.
That's true. Yeah, in limited minutes, I'd go for that. Like Jamal, Cam, Jonas, maybe a P-Watt, and who am I missing? Duran.
I was going to say there's one right answer here. That's interesting. I was not expecting that. So you basically have Peyton playing the 2. And so you got your lineup from 1 to 5 is Jamal, Peyton, Cam, Duran, and Jonas. That's actually interesting to me. I don't think that's one that a lot of people have contemplated. A lot of people have been making their fake lineups. I don't hate it because Duran can shoot, obviously. You don't put a ton of pressure on him to obviously be the 5 and have to do all the rebounding and that kind of stuff, but he can help in that regard playing the 4, I should say. And, he can do a little bit on offense, but doesn't have to. And then Peyton doesn't have to do anything on offense because everybody else on the floor can do more stuff on offense and he can focus on defense. And then Duran gives you that size and length. I like it. I was not expecting that.
Different answer for you off the top of my head. But I think regardless, if you're you don't have to necessarily play P-Watt at 2. You could play him on a bench lineup at the 3. I like Peyton's perimeter defense and like help recoverability with Jonas to like cover ground because I think that's where a lot of like mistakes will have to be covered. So it's interesting that we've just talked about P-Watt's extension and how much we are kind of low on him, but then I do like that pairing of his skill set with Jonas. But how you fill in around that to cover for defense, like I mean, Bruce comes to mind too. If he might be able to be like quick and scrappy, and then he can be an offensive plus to your team too, in some of those bench minutes, obviously. So you have some more options, but like Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to give you more offense and stuff, but that's not necessarily going to help you on the defense.
If you've got Jamal and Cam out there, you probably don't need Tim. You probably need a little bit more defense out there. You've got Jamal, Cam, and Jonas out there. Those are like the offensive dudes. And then you've got Duran and Peyton spearheading the defense, but Jamal and Cam can also do some stuff, right? The only thing with staggering both Jamal and Cam is that obviously you think about the Jokic minutes. But then, like, it's not that bad. You're probably in that situation playing Zeke Naji next to Jokic. Maybe not. Yeah, if you've got both Duran and Peyton playing with the bench, you might be playing Zeke Naji next to Jokic. Or you're just handcuffing AG to Jokic. I wouldn't hate that either. Right?
Yeah.
And then you have, Bruce, Christian, who's playing the 3? You could just have Peyton start and like go into the bench minutes from there, and then he's like kind of 6th man. He and Bruce kind of come in as those first staggers. So Bruce, Christian, Peyton. Who's playing the 4? Did I say it was Zeke? Oh no, you got Bruce, Christian, Peyton, AG, Jokic. That's 3 starters.
Yeah.
That's an 8-man rotation.
Hey, we got all this depth. We're going to be so good, but throwing as many starters as you can.
Is it really an 8-man rotation? Because you got Bruce, Peyton, Duran, and Jonas. That's a 9-man rotation. That's like a fine regular season. Duran, Peyton, Jonas, Bruce. Is that all this? Is that all the bench players that are playing there? Yeah. The power forward position is very awkward, Poppin. It's why I think we need another one. The other thing you could do is just not handcuff AG to Jokic, or you do handcuff AG, but he's not playing all those minutes. He's like, I get to rest. Zeke, you come in. But I like your idea with the bench lineup. The other one that I had in mind was you swap out Duran for Zeke, and in that case, you need a more offensive-minded two. Dang. I just basically want to stagger 3 starters with the bench because I'm like, I want Jamal, Christian, and
the most amount of bench player starters you can get in there, the better. But
or you could swap out Duran and AG and play Duran in those minutes with Jokic, but then that's still 3 starters.
I want to handcuff AG.
I just want to play our best players as much as possible. Anyway, I loved sharing that stat about Jokic or Jonas's floater. Hopefully, I don't make that mistake too many times. I wonder if we're gonna get any clips out of the Team Lithuania friendlies. I just want to see what kind of condition our asset is in. With Jonas. I think he's the starting center for that team since Domas is not playing in Eurobasket. That's another thing to definitely look forward to. Will, is there anything else that you want to say to the people before we sign off on this very, very long show that we did today?
Not at all. Just thank you for hanging and sticking with us through these long shows, but that's what makes our show
I know.
fun.
We're getting back to our roots with these 2.5 hour long shows.
This is like the biggest lull of the off season. You're worried there's nothing to talk about. This is our longest show of the off season. There you go.
I know. This is what happens. If you've made it this far, we really, really do appreciate you guys that make it to the end of these really long streams. If you do like our content, please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Our social links are in the description. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks, especially losing in negotiations.